Well, Jerry Thorpe, who was the producer and director and really developer of the series, had seen me on Broadway playing the Emperor of the Incas in a play by Peter Schaffer called The Royal Hunt of the Sun. And like everybody else who saw that play, he was just knocked out by my performance and I guess my, the image of me just stayed in his head. Almost every good part that I've gotten in the industry has been from somebody who was in that audience. And so he sent the script to me. And I had just finished doing a picture in Arkansas, which was Martin Scorsese's first 35mm movie called Boxcar Bertha. And in that picture, I aged, 15 or 20 years. And I also was supposed to have been in prison and been beaten up by guards a lot. So for the last sequence, which we fortunately shot last, I thinned my hair out. At the end of the movie, my hair just looked awful. So I thought, why don't I just start fresh? So I shaved my head. And when I got back to Los Angeles, this script was sitting on my desk, so to speak. And so when I went into the interview, I had a shaved head. Actually, I had a shaved head that had grown out for a week or two. So obviously I hadn't shaved it for the part. And I think that had something to do with it. But I think really, maybe from the moment he read the script, that Jerry Thorpe pretty much had me in mind for the part. And when I read the script, I said, well, this part is perfect for me. There's no way I can avoid doing it. I have to do it. And I was told by my manager, he said, there's one hitch, and that is that there's a series contract attached to doing this movie. And I know you don't want to do a series. And I said, no, I sure don't. But he said, well, read it anyway. And I read it, and I thought, this story about a half-Chinese Shaolin monk walking through the Old West, there's no way this could be a television series anyway. It's going to be a great movie, but it's not even remotely possible that they'd make a series out of it. So I figured I'd take the chance. And we all know that's not the way it worked out. I remember they asked me, what are you going to do about the martial arts? And I said, well, don't we have stuntmen? We hadn't figured out yet that you really can't do these movies with stuntmen, that people really want to know that you're really doing it. But I said, anyway, I'm pretty much of an athlete. I've done a lot of fights on movies, and I'm a fencer and a dancer and a gymnast, almost an acrobat. And just for emphasis, as I was leaving the place, I did a flying, I guess it was a side kick, but I used to be able to jump really high. I guess I still can. But I kicked the top of the door, above the door actually, on the wall, and I left a bare footprint. And then I went on out the door, and that bare footprint stayed there for the entire 4 years that we were doing the series. And I can imagine them just sitting and looking at that footprint and going, this might be the guy. I was doing a thing at CBS, kind of a big thing, where they do it like a play. And it's a 2-hour movie. And you do a lot of rehearsal, and then you shoot it all in 2 or 3 days as though it was a play. And it was produced by David Susskind, who I had known from New York. He was one of the producers, actually, The Royal Hunt of the Sun. And his brother, Murray Susskind, stopped me in the hall while we were having a cup of coffee, and he said, if you were going to do a series, what would it be about? I said, I don't want to do a series. And he said, well, yeah, but if you were, what would it be about? And I said, well, it would be about Cain, the first murderer, walking through the land of Nod to the east of Eden with the mark of God on him, and trying to atone for having killed his brother. And I'd set it in the Old West. And he said, I'm talking about a commercial television series. And I said, so am I. And he just shook his head and walked away. And then 5 years later, 4 or 5 years later, here comes the script. So I'd say, in a way, I must have had a lot to do with the character, because it was my dream. And then as we were shooting the thing, I remember a few times when there was a question that would come up, and Jerry Thorpe or someone else would say to whoever asked the question, he said, well, David actually knows more about this character than anybody, so you better ask him. Because I guess I took the ball and ran with it. And you know, all the people at Warner Brothers, including myself, really knew very little about martial arts or Chinese philosophy. We had to study, we did a lot of research. We were constantly listening and looking for information, how to make it more truthful and how to make it more effective and make it a better learning experience. That was all very important to us. And I was definitely one of the leaders in that.